So you guys showed me some absolutely insane support towards my last video looking at every single sample on JPEGMAFIA's newest album. And so true to my word, I've decided to delay all other projects of mine in favor of making a sequel video, this time looking at JPEGMAFIA's previous solo album, LP. And let me tell you, if you thought I laid down my life for you at a crazy number of samples, I think LP almost doubles the amount. But before we get into all of them, just some real quick disclaimers. First off, just to clarify, we are going to be checking out the offline version of the record. If you don't know, it's generally seen as the true version of the project, considering it has all of the sample clearances as well as a complete track list. Also, even though LP has been out for a while now, there is still going to be a small chance that I missed at least one sample on here, so if I did, please let me know in the comments, it'd be greatly appreciated. But yeah, let's get started. And starting in the most anticlimactic way possible, turns out that the first track, Trust, doesn't actually have any known samples. So we're actually just gonna skip right ahead to track number 2, Dirty. It samples a 2006 track by rapper Hellrel called On My Block.
And she better have 10, not 9, nigga, we got that. Better have 10, not 9, nigga, we dog. Look at these niggas.
Pretty standard interlude sampling here, I think, but I do like the chopped and screwed sound of it. I will say though, if anyone's able to find if there was a sample used for the drums on this track, please let me know because they are absolutely insane on here. But moving on to the next track, Nemo, we've got another sample from an HBO show, funnily enough. Instead of Succession though, this time the sample comes from the song Blocked off of the soundtrack for the HBO show Insecure, spoken by actress Issa Rae.
You fixed your pussy ass fingers to really block me, my nigga?
You know that's money well spent. Yeah.
You fixed your pussy.
Hold up.
It's honestly so funny listening to the original sample and then hearing it over that Animal Crossing file select screen ass beat that Nemo has, and I don't get it, like, why does it go so hard still? Next up we've got end credits, and the samples on here are definitely the first of my favorites across LP. The main guitar riff that makes up the instrumental comes from a 2021 song by prog metal band Animals as Leaders called A Monomyth. Insanely cool title, by the way. An interesting thing about this track, turns out it came out less than 2 months before LP did. Wild that Peggy was able to cook up such a cool instrumental in such a short time frame. We've also got that speech in the intro, courtesy of Arn Anderson on an episode of All Elite Wrestling Dynamite.
You know what I do? I pull out the Glock, put it on his forehead, and spill his brains all over the concrete. Put it on his forehead, and spill his brains all over the concrete.
As we get deeper into these samples, you'll start to notice how massive of a fan Peggy is of pro wrestling. Hell, even his iconic You Think You Know Me tag is from a WWE compilation album.
You think you know me? You think you know me?
Little bonus sample for you there. Not like this video needs it, but whatever. Now we get to track number 5, and the first one not present on the online version of LP. That of course being Hazard Duty Pay. And I know it's pretty early into the album to say this, but I think it's gotta have my favorite sample across the whole tape. It is phenomenal. The song samples the 1987 track Ain't No Need to Worry by the Winans. Already, this is one of those tracks that feels like a mythical sample pull, but if you actually look at the chop that Peggy does on here, it's seriously impressive. I'd highly recommend you watch this video by Tracklib to see how masterfully chopped the sample is. After you finish this one, of course. But moving on to track 6, God Don't Like Ugly, another offline exclusive. And the quality of sampling here is once again top tier, with an incredible gospel sample of Thomas Whitfield's 1983 track Psalms.
Dog. Pick a location. Private spot your pride and shock when I put that pen to pavement. Y'all can keep that thick.
And just for a little bit of that extra sauce, we get a sample referencing JPEGMAFIA's favorite type of gun.
Big Daddy Hoppin coming to you here with the Kimber.
It's apparent. You niggas got failed by your parents. The Kimber. Stay on my side like Sharon.
Shout out to the GOAT Big Daddy Hoffman 1911 for that one. And keeping with the religious theme, the next track, What Kind of Rappin' Is This, features another gospel sample, this time being from a 2006 Fred Hammond song called More of You.
Look at this shit.
What I love especially about this sample and the last one is despite both of them coming from gospel tracks, they really could not sound more different from each other when worked into their respective songs. And would you believe it, we have another gospel sample worked into track number 8, Thought's Prayer. This time coming from the 1996 Richard Smallwood song, Thank You.
Thank you, Jesus.
Are you thirsty? Are you lost? Are you dumb? Bitch, where you at? Carmen San Diego, all in a smash.
Easily one of the most improved aspects of the offline version of LP, since this gospel sample barely appears on its online counterpart. Next up, we have a pretty crazy deep cut here, with a sample from a 1984 track by Japanese composers Joe Hisashi and Hiroshi Ogasawara called Stardust. This is another contender for the best sample on here for me. The sonic palette of Stardust is simply mesmerizing. And just a little bit of info on Joe Hisashi, since his background is pretty interesting. He's actually one of the most prolific Japanese composers of all time, working heavily with Studio Ghibli founder Hayao Miyazaki. And yes, for those curious, that does mean that he's behind the soundtrack for Spirited Away, which immediately makes him goated in my book. Anyways, moving on to sample number 3 here, and definitely the most memorable one. That of course being Peggy's interpolation of Britney Spears' 1998 smash hit, Baby One More Time. I have no idea why JPEGMAFIA decided to do this, and like, why does it sound so good over this track? It should not fit at all, but it does. And shout out Peggy for actually having a halfway decent singing voice. I really did not expect that from him at first, I'll be honest. Although I will say, ironically enough, the way he sings here kinda reminds me of Drake. And finally, we get another wrestling sample on this track. This time from WWE wrestler Brutus Beefcake, back when he was known as Dizzy Hogan.
Makes me feel real good inside, you know, all that green, baby. I like to hold that green, hold it up. Feel real good inside, you know, all that green, baby. I like to hold that green, hold it up.
I genuinely think that JPEGMAFIA is one of the only artists on earth that could put 4 samples into one song and have it not be overkill. And if you thought that wasn't crazy enough, the next track, Are You Happy, has 4 samples again. This man is an absolute menace. Literally in the first 2 seconds of the song, we get a sample from a 2011 compilation album by the Beach Boys, specifically an outtake of their 1967 track With Me Tonight.
Give me a title on this, Brian.
You're with me tonight, take one. You're with me tonight, take one.
Next we have the spoken word buildup, which is from an a cappella track by Detroit techno collective Underground Resistance called Transition.
Do I have a life?
Do I have a life?
Or am I just living?
Or am I just living?
Do I have a life?
Do I have a life?
Or am I just living?
Or am I just living?
But moving on from the smaller samples now, the sound of the instrumental is heavily built around the 1998 Cardigans track Explode.
Crackers be thinking these lines are deplorable. They just be mad cause I ate for their nap. Wait.
It's kinda crazy since I totally expected these two sounds to come from different songs, but turns out they're actually from the exact same sample. And finally, we get kind of a classic style of sampling here, where vocals from an older hip-hop track are used as this kind of dun 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 rhythm to it. This time coming from a 2001 Gangsta Boo track called Hard Not to Kill.
If you haters want no rubber, bring your Anna to the door. Hope you know how you can get me, you can catch me at a show. If you haters want no, bring your Anna to the door. Hope you know how you can get me.
I really don't know how to describe this sample other than just sounding it out, but some more popular rap songs that use this method include Jimmy Cooks, Fuck Some, I think Hours in Silence also has it. Actually, come to think of it, it might actually just be a Memphis thing, since I'm fairly sure all of the samples are from Memphis rappers. But either way, I think Are You Happy might have the most consistently great samples across the entire track list, which is crazy to say considering there's 4 of them. Moving on to track 10, Rebound, this is unfortunately another one where I couldn't find any known samples for it. And that honestly really sucks, since I think Rebound might be top 3 on the album for me, and I swear those horns used in the instrumental have to come from somewhere else. Again, let me know if I missed something here, but as it is, we're just gonna move to the next track, 100 Emoji. While it is just an instrumental, it does still sample some pretty cool stuff. Firstly, there's one of the 2017 Young Dolph track, 100 Shots.
Phones all in the garage. Remember my first Menage? Yeah, Toy and Britney. Phones all in the garage. Remember my first Menage? Yeah, Toy.
And then we have this little clip from the famous horror movie The Shining at the end.
What about Tony? He's looking forward to the hotel, I bet.
No.
And I was hoping to...
Next we got the track OG, with definitely the most old school hip hop inspired instrumental on the album, so it's no surprise we get a sample of a classic rap song here. The song samples the 1986 Just Ice track, Gangster of Hip Hop. This is another one where I can't really demonstrate how good the sample chop actually is, simply because of YouTube's copyright system, but trust me when I say that this chop is insanely complex and another super well done one. Now this next sample is one that I'm admittedly still kinda confused by. It comes from another AEW Dynamite episode, this time in a match between Ricky Starks and Darby Allin, and I'll just play it and hopefully you can see what I mean.
And some strong words there from JPEGMAFIA from Ricky Starks and Team Taz. Strong words there from JPEGMAFIA.
Like, does the commentator actually say strong words there from JPEGMAFIA? It sounds exactly like that's what he's saying, right? But if that's the case, then why would he say it? Was Peggy actually there? Was he actually referencing him? Too many questions. Anyways, now we've got track 13, Dikembe, which samples a 1963 samba track from Stan Getz and Luis Bonfa called Suadade Vem Correndo. Apologies for any mispronunciation, by the way. Such a weird sample here, and I love how Peggy slightly detunes it to give it such an eerie vibe within the instrumental. And now we get to probably my favorite track on LP, that being Tired, Nervous, and Broke, or Sick, Nervous, and Broke if you're looking at the online version. Such a haunting instrumental and an incredible rapping performance from JPEGMAFIA across the song's runtime, and the hook is just so catchy too. What's crazy about this song is that the only known sample is actually just the interpolation of You Get Yours by Sophie Ellis-Bextor that Peggy and Kimbra sing on the outro of the song.
You're selfish, like me, it's why we get along, famously. You're selfish, like me, it's why we get along.
Really just goes to show that even with JPEGMAFIA's amazing sampling ability, it's not like he's totally relying on them to make a phenomenal instrumental. Next up we've got easily the most melodic track across the record with Flame Emoji. And as for the samples, first we get a little one in the intro from the 1988 track 10% Diss by MC Lyte. One of the most sampled diss tracks of all time, actually. Then we actually get another Memphis sample of a 1995 Tommy Wright track called Me Against the World.
Bitch, nigga, rich nigga, trick nigga, talk shit.
If you'll allow me to go on another tangent here, I guess this is the spiritual successor for my drums hit harder in the 60s and 70s thing from the last video, but why is the classic Memphis style of rapping just so good for sampling? If anyone in the comments could give me a really cool niche music theory bullshit answer, I'll absolutely pin it for you. Now moving on to the next track, Nice, we actually get the first military sample on this project. The constantly looping vocals on here come from the first track on what I guess you would call the official US Marine Corps soundtrack, on the track called 1, 2, 3, 4 United States Marine Corps. Now this is weirdly enough kinda similar to the Memphis thing I was just talking about, where something about the rhythm of army cadences is just so good for sampling. I think it mainly has to do with the call and response nature of them, but still something interesting to think about. And despite how cool the sample is, it's still not even my favorite of the military themed chops on here. That one will come from the next track, BMT, of course short for Basic Military Training. The sample here comes from this 2013 YouTube video of a simple army marching cadence.
Go left, right. Go left, right. Go left, right. Go left,
back in this bitch with a C in the case. All in the grab, but don't be in my face.
Look, I'm not a big USA guy. I don't bleed red, white, and blue or anything like that. But all I'm saying is, if they replace the standard army cadences with JPEGMAFIA songs, I might just reconsider dodging the draft. Alright, hi everyone, this is me from the future again. Guess what? Turns out I did end up missing a sample. So basically the stepping kind of sound that you hear in the intro of BMT is from a 2007 Bjork song called Earth Intruders. Getting into the home stretch now, and we have another sample from the thumbnail on the track The Ghost of Ranking Dread. And let me tell you, I was floored when I found out where the sample in here comes from. The intro of the track actually comes from Tyron Woodley during his first face-off against Jake Paul back when they were doing their whole boxing match in 2021.
Cause once you start seeing me training and grinding, you gonna fucking go big. Yeah. Cause once you start seeing me training and grinding, you gonna fucking go big. Yeah.
If this isn't the most terminally online sample you've ever seen, then I don't know what is. But still, it makes total sense for Peggy to sample something like this at least once across the album. On to the penultimate track now, we have Damn Damn Damn, with two samples to break down. First off, those Hotline Bling-esque drums that come in at around the 1 minute mark are from the 1972 Timmy Thomas song, Why Can't We Live Together? And And no, I'm not just making another Drake comparison for no reason, those are actually the exact same drums that are sampled in Hotline Bling. As for the other sample on here, it comes from the character Florida Evans in a 1976 episode of Good Times. Man, wouldn't it be funny if JPEGMAFIA was like a closet Drake stan? I mean, maybe not nowadays given the allegations, but I remember him saying in an interview somewhere that all of his disses towards Drake are meant to be like a form of flattery or something, so who even knows at this point? But now we get to the final track and the final sample on LP, that being on the song Untitled. It's actually kind of hard to hear it on first listen, but right around the 2-minute and 14-second mark, there's a clip from this random 2018 YouTube video titled Common Curse Words in Creole.
Get ma ooh. Get mama.
Begging for a donation.
Get mama.
Get shout out to my Haitians. Get money.
Admittedly, a little bit anticlimactic for the last sample in the video, but I think it's perfectly shitposty for JPEGMAFIA's standards, especially considering he specifically sampled the insulting your mom's vagina part of the Creole. But with that, we have officially covered every single sample on JPEGMAFIA's LP. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel to see new uploads from me every single Friday, unless I say otherwise on my community posts, of course. Also, like I said, leave a comment letting me know about any samples I might have missed on here, as well as just your favorite sample on the project. And finally, before I go, I just want to say thank you again for the incredible support on my last video. It's kind of funny, I was totally expecting that video to underperform in views, given JPEGMAFIA is a pretty niche artist in the grand scheme of things, and it certainly was not the hardest I've ever worked on a video. That'd still have to be the Kanye versus Kendrick hit battle I did a few weeks back. But I guess it really is always the ones you never expect to blow up that do. Still though, I really can't thank you guys enough for the love there, and if this video does well, I will certainly continue this series. Probably with some rap songs by Earl Sweatshirt. I know a lot of people wanted to see that one. So yeah, just thank you again for all the support. It really does mean a lot. But yeah, that's about it.